What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Daily Betslip. I'm your host for today. First time host Reed Wallach. Alongside me is Donnavan Smoot. We have a loaded Friday slate for you. We got MLB regular season, NBA playoffs, only one game tonight, but we're breaking that game down for you, and the NFL draft. But before we get started with anything, Donovan, how was your NFL draft? How was your Thursday night?
It was good. It was really fantastic. As an Eagles fan, getting AJ Brown was definitely the highlight of the night. Get a proven wide receiver over a rookie one, great. I feel like the contract we gave him was also very team friendly. Didn't reset the market, so that was cool. Jordan Davis got a monster on the D line. Listen, it. I really don't know if it could have gone any better. So last night was fun though.
And
Last night was really good.
how about the pacing of the draft? Over by 11:30 Eastern. I know you're not on the
Beautiful.
East Coast, but usually these things drag out until like well past midnight. So we had a fast moving draft, kept it moving. Picks were in, we were moving and grooving. So as an East Coaster, I was thankful for the fast moving draft.
That they need to do that. What they do for the second and third round, where every team starts to get like 5 minutes on the clock, 3 minutes. They need to do that because we've had months of preparation. Like you know who you're going to take in those moments. So let's just speed it up. And
I
that
agree.
was awesome.
But we do have a loaded show. We're going to get into some recap from first round. We're going to get into round twos and threes, previewing the NFL draft. But also, we're going to be game of the night around 5:35. We're talking Grizzlies and Timberwolves. If you want to vote on our play for the night, community pick, make sure you go follow us on Twitter at BetSided, in the YouTube. If you're in there, make sure you're voting on the poll. So that's going to be our best bet for the night. But let's start with two bad beats, one from the NFL draft and one for the NBA. We'll start NFL draft, though. So the wide receiver over market. We know that we were talking on the live stream a few days ago about wide receivers and how they're kind of they're the flavor of the month. Everyone wants their young wide receivers because they're becoming so expensive. It opened at 5.5 total wide receivers in the first round, closed at 6.5, and the sixth wide receiver, Treylon Burks from Arkansas, went at pick 18. So we have 14 picks to get another wide receiver. No dice, no wide receivers. That was it. Went defensive heavy, offensive lineman at the back half of the first round. That's a tough one. I think Ian McMillan, our guy, he was on that one. So that's a tough one.
Yeah, that one was definitely tough. And that was one of his best bets on the live stream. And you're just sitting there like the run of wide receivers early hit. And so you figured like, okay, once we get, Wilson, Williams, Olave off the board, we're good, especially early, right? That early. For there not to be another wide receiver after 18 is
Basically
crazy.
half the first round.
It's crazy. It's crazy for the Packers not to take a receiver, and then for the
Twice.
Chiefs, right? And then for the Chiefs not to take a receiver. And you think one of those two teams goes and does it. And even the Ravens, who end up trading Hollywood and then don't replace him on draft night, like there was so many spots where that one receiver could have hit, and it just did not happen.
Yeah, and I think also just with that wide receiver run coming between, you have London at 8, Wilson, Olave, Williams, it almost pushes everyone to the front. You would think over at least a 10, let alone 14 pick span, you're going to get one wide receiver because that is becoming such a premier position. I mean, that's definitely a tough pill to swallow. But I actually think that the worst beat came in the NBA last night with the Utah Jazz, 1-point home underdogs against the Dallas Mavericks. Beautiful play call by Quinn Snyder, may I add. Gets Bojan Bogdanovic wide open for three. Head fakes his former teammate from the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, got to throw that in there. Head fake, wide open, practice jumper, time to spare. I knew that shot was never going in, right? That shot never had a prayer.
I don't know. It looked good. I think the only other person who knew it wasn't going to go in was Donovan Mitchell, who as soon as the shot goes up just puts his hands up. But like you can't get a better look than what Boyan got, right?
Yeah.
Like a wide open three to send it to game 7 at home, like that's tough. That's tough. I'm not
Yeah.
crying though. Let's let the Jazz. It's a fantastic moment. Get them out of here. But
I
for
mean,
betters, that's tough.
you shouldn't, like, I already decided going into playoffs, I would never bet on the Jazz because they only bring pain in the fourth quarter. And that, it is a bad beat, yes, because yes, they should have made that. I mean, first of all, Bogdanovich is a clutch player himself, so I am surprised he missed it. I guess like just intuitively, but that's what you get for betting on the Jazz, just maximum pain and suffering. Like I'd almost rather, if I had the Jazz, take like a contested broken play, like just hoist it up, not like wide open at home to force game 7 and cover the spread. Obviously, like that hurts. That stings.
It's a much easier pill to swallow than having a 38% 3-point shooter have a wide open shot and brick it. So I mean, yeah, that's tough.
So we're going to change gears now. Let's talk NFL draft, because obviously we have rounds 2 and 3 starting in a little under 2 hours here. And I think my first overarching takeaway from the draft was no one did anything that stupid. I think it was a fairly ho-hum draft, for a draft that was kind of heralded as this unpredictable, crazy draft. It went fairly status quo. People that were expected to be in the first round, they went first round. But the real story is one quarterback taken. Only Kenny Pickett. He went number 20 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Malik Willis, there were rumors he might be the number 2 pick overall. He's still in the green room. Desmond Ridder was getting first round hype. He did not get drafted. Matt Corral, I guess, is the other name you could throw in there. Donovan, what is your overall thoughts on one quarterback in the first round? And then I guess looking ahead to tonight, what are you thinking about? I assume you're thinking Malik Willis, first quarterback off the board fairly early.
Yeah, and we can get to Malik in a little bit, but I'm with you. Like nobody really did anything stupid. And when we talk about this class not being a deep quarterback one, that's the biggest surprise of the night, because GMs will convince themselves and lie to themselves that whichever quarterback is available, he's going to be the one that's going to be like the generational one, the franchise quarterback for the next decade. And the fact that nobody traded up to go get that quarterback, right? Nobody mortgaged the future to get that. That's actually very, very shocking to me that for a night, every GM in the NFL showed common sense. And I think that's extremely rare.
Teams are getting smarter. They really are. I mean, maybe it's because the Raiders weren't in the first round that they couldn't make their wild draft pick, but I think it shows. And, you saw first 5 picks, all defense. That's the first time since 1991 that it was a top 5 all defensive players. It just seemed like teams, they had their draft board. They weren't going to force it. They're taking who they like. Like, I feel like Derek Stingley, by the time the draft rolled around, it seemed kind of clear that the Texans were going to select him, but maybe the Texans, that he was number 1 on their board. That's who they want. So it seems like teams, they didn't see Malik Willis falling and saying, we got to go up and move and get this guy. It's more, you know what, we're going to stand pat here and go with the guy we like. We saw 9 trades, which was the most since the draft expanded in 2010. So there's a lot of movement. But again, teams went for the player they had at the top of their board. So I think this kind of shows just teams are wising up to the fact that you can't force a quarterback. You need to entrust that this guy's going to be the quarterback of the future. And it seems like only the Steelers, who were linked to Malik Willis for most of the drafts, they ended up taking the local product out of Pittsburgh in Pickett. What were your thoughts on the Steelers going Pickett over Willis?
I'm kind of shocked a little bit, just because any quarterback that was going to be taken in the first round, and I think all of these quarterbacks fit this bill, but they're all projects, right? They're all going to be guys who aren't expected to start week 1 and aren't expected to come in and really carry the franchise. So I think if you wanted a guy that's going to be a project, why wouldn't you take the most talented one, the one who's most physically gifted, and that's Malik Willis. And if you're gonna have a guy like Kenny Pickett, who can be very good, but I don't think that his upside is as high as Malik Willis's, and especially if you're talking about a quarterback who can kind of move a little bit outside the pocket. You have Mitchell Trubisky there, and obviously, like, Trubisky's not the gold standard of quarterbacks, but to have somebody who has a similar play style, if anything were to happen to Trubisky, to have somebody who could kind of step in immediately and fill in those shoes, that would kind of be the avenue that I would go in.
I was thinking it was going to be Willis before the pick, and after it kind of made a little bit of sense though. The local product, he went to Pitt, like it makes a lot of sense. It's easy to sell. I have watched my fair share of Kenny Pickett. I'm not impressed. I told you I didn't think any of these quarterbacks should be first round picks. I understand teams talk themselves into it, but the more I thought about it, the more I could understand the pick. I think, no pun intended, I think Pickett is all right. Again, I don't think he's worth a first round pick, but I did have a ticket on Kenny Pickett to go first quarterback. So that was a nice winner in a night that I think us, the BetSided team, we all crushed the draft. I mean, the draft is like my favorite money making opportunity of like all time.
I think everybody had a really good draft. I know Ian had posted on Twitter his success. I think he went like 6 of 8. I know he had Cash Drake London first receiver, Cash Saints first pick as a wide receiver, Eagles first pick D lineman. Like he had a good night. My best bet from the other night was that under 3 quarterbacks were going to be taken, and obviously that was like a lock. I think like it was going to be a push at worst, and so that one obviously hit. So I think everybody had a really really good night though.
Yeah,
which is
I mean,
which is weird for the unpredictable draft.
Yeah, that's why I was saying it was pretty predictable. I mean, of course, I have a bunch of position props. Kyle Hamilton over 6.5. He doesn't go till 14. Sauce Gardner under 7.5. He goes 4th. So great for me. And then of course we go on the best bets video, and I'm scrolling through all the props. I see cornerbacks is still plus money. I go, oh, I'll take the cornerbacks prop. I think that's a good one. Of course, that one doesn't hit. It lands on 4 instead of going over 4.5. But it is what it is. I still, looking ahead to tonight, and we'll talk about the quarterbacks, but a few, I think, things to look for in the second round, third round. Breece Hall is the overwhelming favorite to be the first running back off the board, and he very well might be. But this was another reason why I faded Malik Willis in the first quarterback prop market, and I took Kenny Pickett. The further out you get from the top is when teams start to diverge, and it becomes, who does this team like more than the consensus? Like if Malik Willis is going to be the number 2 pick, then yes, he will be the first quarterback off the board. But when you're picking at 20, it's a little bit different. It's all about who does this team like more. So now we're outside the first round with Breece Hall. I recommended on the stream James Cook at 20-1. That's now trending inside of like single digits now, because again, the further out you get, the less it's going to be like a consensus number 1 overall pick. So I still think there is a little bit of value if you want to take a stab on someone like Kenneth Walker, James Cook, basically fading Breece Hall, who's still like minus 300. I just think, sure, he is still a favorite too, but I just think it's less likely than it was last night, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And especially, I think you're 100% right in the fact that like once everybody, because listen, nobody's watching the second and third round the way that they are the first round. So once you get the cameras off you and you say, okay, now like there's no pressure, I could do what I want to do, then you actually like start paying attention to your specific draft board. And so I think that's a very smart play, especially for the James Cook.
Yeah, and another just first tight end off the board, Trey McBride. I think he's the overwhelming favorite. I think, going under, I think he's going to go in the first half of this second round pretty early. Maybe, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, those teams picking towards the top that need a tight end. But, Domin, I'm going to turn to you for quarterbacks. Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder. Are they going early tonight, or are they going to wait a little bit longer into the third round?
I think Malik goes early. I'm not – if I had to rank those 3, I think we go Malik, Ridder, then Corral. I think that's how we go. And honestly, I don't see a scenario where Malik Willis doesn't get taken. Let's see, where Malik doesn't get taken in the first 10 picks of tonight.
So
wait, go ahead.
Great point. So I'm going to read you really quick the first 10 picks of the second round. So we got the Bucks, the Vikings, there was a lot of betting on Malik Willis getting picked at 34 to the Vikings. So that is a long, I know Ian Rappaport said it this afternoon. So 34 to the Vikings, he might go. Then there's the Titans, who have been linked to quarterbacks, the Giants, the Texans, the Jets, Bears, and then the Seahawks have 2 picks at 40 and 41. I think that's like his floor. I think Willis goes 41 or I guess higher. I think the Seahawks are his ultimate floor. And then, we start to see maybe Desmond Ridder and Matt Corral come off the board, Sam Howell a little bit later than that.
Yeah, 100%. I think having back-to-back picks for Seattle is exactly what they need, because now you can double up and you can go get your project at quarterback, and then you can still fill whatever need that you want. One team that I think is very sneaky to pick up Malik is the Houston Texans.
Interesting.
right? Like I don't know if they are 100% sold on Davis Mills. Like he played well in spots. In my opinion, Mills isn't the guy, and so if you have this roster that is in a complete rebuild, right? You have Lovie Smith, who's the coach now, just trying to build everything back up. Why not take another flyer on a quarterback and try to build up? I think that's like a very decent strategy, especially because like you're the Texans, you need everything,
I believe they
right?
have the most picks also in the rest of the draft. So they're
So you
loaded
have
with
the
assets. They
capital.
could basically burn one on someone like Malik Willis.
Exactly. And so like you have Davis Mills, who's like a sixth, seventh round pick. And I don't know any franchise that is in love with a sixth to seventh round pick after
Mhm.
1 year, especially when they had the type of production that Mills did. So I think Seattle might be the team that gets him, but if there's a sleeper to go get Malik Willis, it's gonna be the Houston Texans.
I completely agree. I think the Texans would be, I think it's a great landing spot for Willis, a chance to compete, but also not get thrown right to the fire. It's a rebuilding situation. So Willis get his chance. But that's going to be it for the NFL draft for now. We are on tomorrow morning for bed and breakfast. So me and you can maybe discuss where someone like Malik Willis went, talk about his fit with his new team. But we're going to move to best bets. Let's start MLB. I know we're all over the board here. We have a strikeout prop, a run line. I have a team total and a road favorite. So I'm going to start with you, Donovan. What pitcher strikeout prop are you eyeing for tonight?
I'm looking at Tyler Megal over 5.5 strikeouts, minus 115. Listen, dude, the Mets are rolling. The Mets
Yeah,
are
we are. Yeah, the
they're
Mets.
they're here. They're here. And Mego is a very, very big part of that. He's hit this prop in 3 of his 4 starts this season. The Phillies are like they're 15th in the league in strikeouts per game. So they're not the easiest to strike out, but they're also not the hardest to strike out. And what I really like about this prop is that Mego, he's gone at least 5 innings in each one of his starts, right? So he's getting a lot of time on the mound. There's a lot of time for him to go out, get these strikeouts. And so I think at minus 115, with a lot of these strikeout props, you see them kind of be heavily juiced. There's not a lot of juice on this one. So I really like the value here. And like I said before, the Mets are rolling, right? And so and
Mets
so
are
there's
rolling.
there's there's a really good aura with them right now. So I like this prop a lot.
Yeah, Mets obviously Friday night they're wearing their black jerseys that they brought back last year. I obviously I'm in New York. I almost went to the game tonight, so I'm hoping for a big iron from McGill. And the Mets obviously 3.5 game lead I believe in the NL East over the Marlins. Try and stack those chips. Got to win those division games. So I like a big outing there. I'm gonna look at a team total under. So the Royals offense has been the worst in all of baseball this season. And they're now facing the Yankees. And I'm not in love with the Yankees this year either. I'm not rushing to back them as minus 210 favorites. I'm never looking to lay that juice. But they are starting arguably one of the best pitchers in baseball, Nestor Cortez tonight, who's been just absolutely dominant. 1.15 ERA through 3 starts. So I'm going to play the Royals team total under 3.5. You have wind all over the place in Kansas City tonight. And the Royals, they're 6-10-1 to the over themselves. And they're also dead last in runs scored this entire season. 23rd in on base percentage. I think Cortez is going to absolutely mow them down. The Yankees bullpen, top 10 in baseball in bullpen ERA. I think that this is shaping up for maybe something like a 6-1 Yankees win, maybe even lower scoring than that. I think the Yankees win easily, but I'm not looking to lay that juice. So I'm looking the other way, going Royals team total under 3.5, only minus 115.
Okay. Okay. Listen, I hope that the Yankees can start, getting on the road. Maybe they can, start winning and put that cheating scandal behind them that they just had
Yeah,
to
tough
announce,
seat.
right? But I like that. I'm always down to fade bad offenses, you know.
Yeah,
I
Cortez has been absolutely fantastic. So, I think the Yankees are very likely to win in like dominant fashion, but again, it's too expensive for me, so I got to look to play it in other ways.
Yeah, and if you listen, and I will take your pick, and I'll segue into mine. If we're talking about dominant wins, I think the Dodgers bounce back. The Dodgers just lost 2 in a row to the Diamondbacks, and so I also think that this is like the third straight show that the Diamondbacks have been mentioned on BetSlip. So shout out to them. But so the Dodgers just lost 2 in a row. I think they bounced back big tonight against the Tigers. It's really, really simple with Los Angeles. When they win, they cover and they do it in dominant fashion. They're 12-6 on the year. They're 12-6 against the run line. Tigers are 1-4 against the run line in the last 5, and they're 3-6 at home as a home underdog, which is exactly what they are tonight. Los Angeles, they're the most talented roster in the league. They have stars everywhere.
Sure.
I think tonight is just very, cut and dry. Minus 130, not too much juice. So I'm looking for the Dodgers to get back on track.
Yeah, I love it. And then I'm gonna go again. It seems like it does seem chalky, but I'm going with the Braves on the money line, minus 125 against the Rangers. Again, this is a terrible Rangers team. They are very, very bad. And the Braves, they just got Ronald Acuna back. He's not going to be in the starting lineup tonight, but that doesn't really change my handicap of this game. The Braves starting pitcher, Ian Anderson, his expected ERA is actually 2 runs less than his actual ERA. So I think that there's some positive regression coming his way. And it's almost the complete opposite for the Rangers starting pitcher, Garrett Richards. He's walking nearly 6 batters per 9 innings, but he has an ERA below 3. It just feels like he's putting runners on the base paths and getting bailed out by whether it's good fielding or, timely pop outs. I just think that the Braves are a team that's going to start trending in the right direction, while the Rangers, they are what they are, and their starting pitchers also, I think, due for, getting shelled. Not to mention the Rangers, one of the bottom 5 bullpens in terms of ERA. So if this game goes late and it's tight, I trust the Braves to take care of business. Again, I can't fade it. Like, the Rangers are getting respect in the market because they have some explosive bats, but I can't get there. I think the Braves are the better team. I think that this is a discount, so I'll lay the small road favorite.
I'm all with that. I'm all with that. I really like that pick, and it is weird. You're right. It does seem chalky tonight, but listen, sometimes you just have to do it.
Yeah, again, the Braves to me, they're a significantly better team, and I get Anderson. I feel like this is more like Anderson's ERA is over 5, and Richards Texas, he's in the 2. So Rangers are live. The Rangers are also, I believe, 6-12 on the year, and they've been uncompetitive in most of their games. So I'm gonna trust Anderson to get on track and get me a win.
Let's do that.
And so now, I know our third best bet. We're just gonna go to the game of the night because our third best bet each is in the Minnesota-Memphis playoff game. So let's just go a little bit longer on this game, and I think let's kind of hit it from all angles. Not even necessarily best bet, but let's preview side, total, prop on Grizzlies Timberwolves, and we'll let the last few minutes of this community poll go through. But let me set the stage here. Over at WinBet right now, we have the Grizzlies as 1-point road favorites in Minnesota for Game 6 with a total of 229. Grizzlies minus 125 on the money line. Timberwolves plus 105 underdogs. So obviously, we got Game 5 earlier this week. Anthony Edwards game tying 3 in the final seconds. John Morant game-winning layup. This series has been out of control, back and forth, helter-skelter. Wouldn't say it's the most well-played series, but it's been tight. And this is dead even. So one little nugget I'll give for you, Donovan. After going 3-0 last night, road favorites in Game 6 are now 12-2 straight up and against the spread in their last 14. Do you see that happening again tonight? Do you see another road favorite in the Grizzlies closing out this series, moving on to face Golden State, or are we going back to Memphis for a Game 7?
We're not going back to Memphis. The series is done tonight.
Okay.
I really think it's over. I think Minnesota has had a lot of chances to win games and to honestly maybe even have this series locked up by now, especially as poorly as Jaws played this entire series. They haven't capitalized. I think that tonight's going to be the icing on the cake for them in a bad way, because in the playoffs, you have to take advantage, right?
Yep.
Of every single opportunity, because you don't know when the next one is coming. And the Timberwolves look like a team that haven't been here before. And so you've had games slip out of their fingers, like that Game 5. You have to close that out, or you have to make sure, hey, John Morant he's gonna go to the basket. That he gets about 17 points a game in the paint every single game. You have to stop him from going there, and they just let it happen. So I think that those errors right there, that's gonna cost them tonight.
Yeah, I don't have a strong feel for this one. I think, and you make some great points. Timberwolves have really squandered some chances to potentially even have this series over with. And, I think inexperience, has really plagued them. But I can't, I can't confidently back the Grizzlies to close the series out because I think the Timberwolves have been the better team. I straight up I think the Timberwolves have outplayed the Grizzlies for the majority of the series.
And that's fair.
So it's tough for me to get on board in a must-win situation. I mean, listen, history shows that the better team comes in on the road and they close the series out. But again, I feel like the Grizzlies are somewhat of a mispriced favorite. I feel like the Timberwolves, I know, the lines are kind of set with what they are, but I feel like the Timberwolves should be favored at home in this spot. I'm kind of talking myself into Minnesota now, but for me, I think this total has been dropping game after game. We've seen now it's below 230, I believe, for the first time this entire series. Yeah. It's been low scoring. It's been inefficient offense for the most part. I think that this is shaping up, if I had to guess, last minute of the game, it's tied or within one possession. And I do want to get to our guy, Ben Heisler, off today, tuning in anyway, because that's what he does. He's a good teammate. He loves Desmond Bane, and we're going to be talking about props. Great segue. We're going to be talking about props, but he likes Desmond Bane over 20.5 points. That's what he likes. He's getting a ton of minutes, shot just under 50% from three on the road. He killed it on the road all season. And, I like this Desmond Bane prop because it does kind of go with my favorite prop of the night, which we'll get into in a sec. But Donovan, I'll start with you because I know you're going on the Minnesota side for a prop, and then we could kind of wrap up the best bets.
Yeah. So I'll start here with my player prop for tonight. We're gonna fade D'Angelo Russell, who's been just awful in this entire series. So I'm taking under 16.5 points, minus 115. He's missed his line in every single game except for one. He's shooting 32% from the field in this series. He's only averaging 13 points per game. This series, like you said, it's a lot of inefficient offense, and a lot of the scoring has come from Cats, come from Anthony Edwards. And listen, Russell, he's been good as a distributor, as a facilitator, but the offense just isn't there for him tonight, this entire series. And so I don't trust him. Even at home, he's really only had two really, really good games this entire run. He had, the 30-point game in the play-in, and then he scored, it was around like 22 points earlier this series, but he just hasn't been able to throw the rock in the ocean. He especially from inside the arc, because he's shooting close to 40% from three, but his entire field goal percentage is 32%. So he's not finishing around the rim well. And so I can't get there, especially with the length that Memphis is going to be able to throw at him.
Yeah, I think I could see this being a game where D'Angelo Russell ends up on the bench because this is game 6. It's all, it's do or die. I think that the Timberwolves, they should be leaning more on people like Jared Vanderbilt, play defense, rebound, and trust. Karl Anthony Towns, he needs to dominate this game. This has to be a Karl Anthony Towns game, in my opinion. Anthony Edwards, it's been kind of hit or miss for him as well, but I think Russell is the odd man out when it comes to minutes. I think the adjustment is for him to find himself on the bench. So I like the play. And in the comments as well, Peter Dewey asking about Tyus Jones over 13.5 PRA. I do not have Jones's game log up in front of me. As I pull that up, Donovan, do you have any sort of gut feel off of Tyus Jones? I always had his moments in this series.
Yeah, he has. And I like the 13. I like Peter's play at over 13.5 just because, and you're going to touch on it, and I like your play as well, and this kind of goes hand in hand, but I think that one or two things is going to happen. Either we're going to get a big Tyus Jones game just as on its own, or Minnesota is finally going to say, hey, Ja Morant, you're going to have to beat us with 15 assists. And if he does, Tyus is going to be out on the outside. Him and Desmond Bane are going to be on the outside catching and shooting. And I think that Tyus should be able to have his moments. 13 seems a little low.
Yeah.
Do you have his game log?
So I pulled it up. I call this PRA, by the way. That's my verbiage of it. But so this series, he's played no more than 22 minutes, but no less than 14. So he's hung in that 14 to 22 range. But his PRAs for this series have been 14, 17, 20, 20. And in the last game, he only had 13 pros. But that being said, he has been even in the first game in terms of plus minus, +4, +6, +3, +12. So he's been a net positive when on the floor. And I think that on the road, I trust Tyus Jones to be kind of that secondary ball handler and that secondary playmaker for a Grizzlies team that has looked a little rattled on the road at times. I know that they split earlier this series, but it hasn't been the easiest sailing for them. So I kind of might be riding with Peter, and you should be checking out Peter's BetSided NBA best bets every day. But I think I'm kind of leaning here with Tyus Jones over 13.5 pros. I love my role players, going over, and just again, the usage has been there. I mean, again, he's had assist games of 6, 3, 4, 3, 5. So he's getting really active. And all this takes to really get over is like 2 threes, and you're basically home free. So I like this over 13.5.
I like it as well. I think we're getting a really solid number here. All right,
Yeah.
we're
So
Tyus Jones fan club tonight. I like it.
yeah. All right. All right. Writing it down as we transition. I'll put it in the book. But anyway, my favorite player prop for tonight, we've kind of been hinting around it, but John Morant, I understand he has the crazy dunk. He has the game winner. I don't think this has been like his best series. I haven't been like overly impressed. So it also isn't a big scoring series for him. The Timberwolves have done a great job of blitzing him in the pick and roll, forcing the ball out of his hands and say, okay, you're not going to get into the lane and score on us for the most part. You're going to have to kick it out to someone like Desmond Bane, who, Baden likes to go over 20.5 points. I like Ja to go under 27.5 points. He's went under in 3 of 5. And the 2 games he went over, it took him 17 free throw attempts and 20 free throw attempts to get there. So are we really going to have to count on that again on the road in game 6? We're going to count on him getting to the line that much. I just don't see it. I don't think the volume is going to be there for him to go over such a high. 28 points, that's a fantastic outing. I just don't see it. I see, again, him being more of a facilitator. And, again, I kind of like the Timberwolves in this game. I might end up betting on Minnesota, so this all kind of goes together. But I do ultimately, even in a win, Ja could do this. He could score, 20 points and dish out 12 assists, and Minnesota or Memphis could still win this game. So I'm going to go under 27.5 points. What do you think about that?
I'm 100% with you. I put out a quick hit video today, and
Which I didn't see before writing this, but I do like that we're aligned here.
yeah, and so I had the exact same pick, and for the same reason that you said, Ja's been inefficient this entire series, and so for Ja, who's shooting 27% from 3, averaging less than 1 made 3 per game, I just don't see where he gets all these points from if he's not being, if he's not getting the whistle tonight. And they've done a really good job. They, like you said, they're blitzing him on pick and rolls. They're making sure that everything in the paint is difficult and contested. Ja's fallen down a lot this series, right? Like they're
averaging 22 a game. Like we now have a 5-game sample size where he's averaging 22. And I know his prop was at like 29.5, 30, so it's been dropping, but like we're expecting him to go like way above what he has done in a 5-game sample. It's just, you're really asking for a lot here.
Yeah, and I don't know if again on the road getting those calls is going to be very, very tough. Now the refs in this series have, and so it was a little bit better in the last game, but these refs have been very, very like whistle heavy, and this series has seen a lot of free throws. So I wouldn't like if Ja ended up clearing this line because of the free throws, I wouldn't be shocked. But that's the only way that I see him clearing it. Like if you're not getting into the lane and you're not getting these calls and you can't shoot, you're easy to defend in the playoffs. And Minnesota, like we've said, has figured out exactly how to guard Ja. So I really like the under tonight.
Yeah. And then, so, Donovan, you like Memphis to close this out, though? That being said, as we talk, Ja not going nuclear threat, you like Memphis to close it out and move on to face Golden State?
Yeah, and the reason why I still like them to close out is because, and this has been the theme of their whole season, but they've gotten to this point because of their depth and because of their defense. And so And so when you talk about Desmond Bain potentially getting, over 20 points, Tyus Jones having a nice all-around game, if Jaren Jackson can, be smart with his hands and stay on the floor and not get into foul trouble, you have all of these guys. If we have a solid Dylan Brooks game, they have a whole bunch of pieces that can contribute just enough to where once you start adding it up, oh wow, it's just a Memphis Avalanche. So I think that their depth gets them there tonight, and then they'll try and figure it out against the Warriors and try to go back to the drawing board. But Grizzlies money line. Whenever I looked at it, it was at -120. They were 1.5 point favorites. That's dropped down to 1. So I like this line even more, and I think that the more it moves towards Minnesota, the more value you get with Memphis.
So let me just ask you this. I know you like Memphis.
Yeah.
But if you like Minnesota, would you say bet Minnesota to win this game, or would you say bet them to win the series at, I could pull it up as I'm talking, but would you rather play Minnesota to win the series, at a big price? Do you think that they could then win a game 7, or you think Minnesota has like no chance of winning? Don't even bother. Like if you're interested, like they definitely can't go to Memphis and win.
No, I think if this game gets to a game 7, I might look to Minnesota's way, just because I think so highly of Memphis, and if they can't get it done tonight on the road, like I know that they had the playoff series last year against the Jazz, but this like they were the young team then, and they're still a really young team. These are two young teams who have played bad basketball for about a week and a half, and just the way that the series is going, literally anything is possible in this series. So I think a Timberwolves series play would probably be the smart way to go and get that high price there.
Yeah. So Minnesota right now at WinBet +450, Memphis the -625 favorite. Of course, Minnesota has to win both. Yeah. So Minnesota,
you might have to jump on that.
I might look to play it that way, and then see how that game goes. The way I just see it going, it reeks of like game 7 down to the wire, and like the Timberwolves lose in a heartbreaking fashion or something, like Ja dunks from the 3-point line with 5 seconds left, and that's the game. But Donovan, the public agrees with you. The community poll comes in. They are on Grizzlies -1.5. Lines dancing between 1 and 1.5. So the community does outweigh my, thought that maybe Minnesota is a little alive in this. They see the Grizzlies going to Minnesota and closing it out. Again, road favorites in the last 14, 12-2, straight up and against the spread. So when it's closing time for the road favorite, they do just that, and they close it out. Any other parting words for this Grizzlies game? Any other prop looks you're looking for? Maybe like a first quarter, first half look?
Yeah, and it's very funny because even though that I am all on Memphis to win, I think the one place where you can bet Minnesota tonight is first quarter money line. Minnesota's won the first quarter in 4 out of the 5 games, and the one game that they didn't win, they lost 33-32. Right? So Minnesota, and you said it earlier, they've kind of been the better team in this series. They've low-key like outplayed Memphis, and they jump on them every single game. So I think at home, season on the line, you're gonna get Minnesota's best punch tonight. And so at WinBet, first quarter money line for Minnesota's +105. You get plus money on the team that's won it in 4 out of the 5 quarters. I really like that prop right there.
At home too, backs against the wall, like you said. I completely agree. But the community, Donovan, you guys are on the Grizzlies to win this one, close this series out. And that's our show. There are plays. If you want to go through one more time, Donovan, read off your favorite MLB and NBA plays. I'll hit mine after that.
Yeah, so we got Tyler McGill, right? Am I saying his name right? McGill. My bad, Tyler. Tyler McGill over 5.5 strikeouts. Then we got the Dodgers -1.5 against the Tigers. D'Angelo Russell under 16.5 points. Grizzlies money line -120, and this is an official pick. Timberwolves first quarter money line +105.
Really threading the needle there. But I am on the Royals team total under 3.5. The Braves money line -125. And Ja Morant under 27.5 points. And if you're out there and want some draft props, James Cook first running back at anything 10-1 or better. and Trey McBride to go anywhere before 52.5. That's a good draft prop for me. But there's our show. Ton of content to get you ready for the weekend. Donovan and myself, we are back tomorrow morning for Bet and Breakfast. We'll be talking about what happened, what we just previewed. We'll be recapping that for you Saturday morning and getting you ready for Saturday night, UFC card, getting you ready for the NBA playoffs, second round coming up. But Daily Betslip, 5 o'clock Eastern, every day, Monday to Friday, 5 to 6 with the whole BetSided team. Make sure you're tuning in. And everybody, best of luck tonight.